What's up, everyone? Kevin here from Skywatcher. Welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. Well, we're back. We're back from NEAF. It's been a crazy whirlwind this past week or so. It was a pleasure to meet so many of you in person at NEAF. Thank you all who watch. There was a lot of very kind words for us and our team about the webcast. So we always appreciate you guys watching the show. And that was very, very clear at NEAF and NEAC how big of a footprint this show has actually left on the community. And we got nothing but positive remarks. Lots of people are really happy that we don't just sit here and talk Skywatcher all the time. We have competitors on. We have really interesting people on. We really try to make it a show for everything. And we're friends with a lot of these people, even competitors. I was trying to explain this to a few of you at NEAF, where, sure, you know, I'll have Stellar View on, and yeah, we compete against Stellar View, but Vic and the crew over there make amazing stuff. I have Stellar Views, friends of mine have Stellar Views, and, you know, whatever, insert brand. And we all just like telescopes. We all love the hobby, and we're buddy-buddy, and we try to make the show just kind of us hanging out, talking shop, because it's fun. So, yeah. It's always great that it makes such an impact, and thank you all for your kind words and hanging out with us on Friday. If you don't see us during the live airing of these episodes, then you watch it afterwards. But anyway, NEAF was a great time. It was a very exhausting show this year, but it was a great time, and we're going to do a whole video next week about the NEAF overview. But today, we're talking about something that we did show at NEAF. And there might be some confusion because a year ago we said we'd never bring this thing in. The first version would have been the caveat to that thing, but we couldn't tell you guys about the new DX model. So today we're talking about the HAC125DX. This is that little 5-inch f2 astrograph people have been talking about for a while. We're going to go into some details. I was really hoping to have the sample here, but there was a shipping delay on it getting picked up from NEAF to get it here on time, so it won't be here for the show. I'll do my best to just go into detail about it with all the information. I do have the original sample down here of the original model, so we can talk a little bit about that, but I don't have the DX in my hands at the moment, so thanks, UPS. So anyway, before we get started, if you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe, leave a like on the video, let us know we're doing a good job and that we should keep this whole thing going so we can see you guys at NEAF and other shows and hear all the nice things you have to say. But again, really appreciate everyone being so supportive of it. So if you want to support us more, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. If you want to go further, you can always head over to skywatcher.threadless.com, pick up some cool swag. And then you can always go to Skywatcher USA. You can purchase all of our stuff off of our website, or you can talk to your favorite dealer and pick up any of that stuff. So a lot of our new stuff is available. So head over there and take a look at it. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started talking about these new little mini graph is what we have nicknamed it. If you do want to stay tuned with what's going on at Skywatcher, head over to skywatcherusa.com, hit subscribe and save up at the top, join our email list, and you can stay up to date with all the crazy stuff that's going on. So let's get started. This is the HAC125DX overview. So the big question is, what is it? That's a good question because it is an oddball of a telescope. So what is it? So this is a Honder-Advanced Catadioptric. You could also call it a Honder-Advanced camera, HAC for short. So that's what HAC stands for. This is one of the most exotic designs that our engineering team has come up with. And I really have to applaud them for really thinking out of the box when it came to this scope. And I'm hoping that some of the lineage of this telescope will make its way down into future designs, and we'll see more of these just weird optical systems. Now, I've been working with the HAC since about 2020. That's when I got my first sample of the original one, the original HAC, which was debuted about a year ago. You probably saw it on Quiv the Lazy Geeks video about a show in Japan where they showcased it. There was a lot of questions. We got hammered at NEAF about it, and we had publicly said we would not be bringing it in. The first model, my job here at Skywatcher, I have a lot of different hats that I wear, but my primary job is senior product specialist. So I beta test everything. So anything that you see coming in for Skywatcher USA for the North American region, I have had my hands on it. I have beta tested it. I work with a small beta test team here in the US and Canada, and we work together to evaluate new Skywatcher products. And before anybody races over and says, I want to be a beta tester, beta testing is not to give someone access to equipment before anybody else. Beta testing is something where you take it out and you have to look for problems. What are the idiosyncrasies? And there's a good chance early on when you get samples, there will be problems. And this can't be, oh, I got a sample and I'm going to complain about all the wrong things. No, we're trying to find issues in order to make them better. That's beta testing, and it's not as easy as just getting a hold of a scope and trying it out. So we've been working with this telescope since about 2020. That's when the first one came out. Tested the first one. It was a nifty little thing, but it was a little hard to use. It was a little odd, and trying to figure out why it existed. So we had no real plans on bringing in the original model, and after a while, they released it for us to sell, and we denied it. We did not feel it met the market needs, and I will go over the differences between the two models here shortly. So we got some flack for that, but a few months after NEAF last year, I got an email from our head engineer saying there was a new version of it, and looking it over, they had addressed many of the concerns that we had and some of the ideas that we had requested to be changed, and thus the HAC125DX was born. This is the model that we will be selling here in the North American region, and now having tested this one, I can say it's vastly superior to the first version. And optically, I don't believe it's any different, but mechanically, the improvements that the engineering team have made have really made this scope a lot more fun to use and a lot easier to use. Now I really feel like it does meet what the market would expect from such a telescope. So let's talk a little bit more about what the heck is it. So if you're not familiar with the Honder-Advanced design, the Honder-Advanced design is a mix of lenses and mirrors internally, and we very, very hopefully plan to get this to take off. We jokingly call it a refractor, because this scope refracts and reflects all together, and it's kind of a term that makes sense. So let's look at a cross section. You can actually find these cross sections in the manual that's on our website now, skywatchusa.com. Go to support, find manuals. This is at the top of the list if you want to read more about how this scope works. There's several cutaways to show you the optical design and various ways to actually use cameras on this. Now, this is a astrograph. There is no way to use this visually ever. You can't use it that way. It's made for cameras only, and it is very limited when it comes to cameras, but if done right, it's a fun little scope to mess with. So here's a cross-section of an HAC. Let me go over this really quick. So a Honder's design uses a front lens to start the focus chain. So gathers light up the front, focuses that light down to what's called a Mangan mirror. If you're not familiar with a Mangan mirror, to me, it's an incredible piece of optical technology. A Mangan mirror, which is also used on telescopes like Riccardi Honders, when paired up with the front lens, actually acts like a refracting system. It acts like a triplet in a way. So light goes through the front lens. Light then goes down to the Mangan mirror, the primary mirror. And the way a Mangan mirror works, it's usually a spherical figure, but it is polished on both sides. And the reflecting portion of the mirror on most telescopes is the first surface. Honder's design, the rear surface of the mirror is actually what is coated with your reflecting. For us, it's aluminum. So light actually passes all the way through the glass of the primary, hits the reflecting surface on the back, and then passes back through that optical surface again. So it's bounced through that glass twice. So once in and once out. Then that moves back through the front lens towards the center, and then goes through a set of flattening corrector lenses near the focusing point. So, and then you can find the corrector lenses up front. We've heard people talk about that this is like a mini RASA. The concept, yes. It has a camera on the front and it's really fast. That's it. That's the only genetics of a RASA or Hyperstar on this thing. It's not a Schmidt, it's a Honder's. It's a very advanced optical design. So anyway, that's the cutaway there. So light's going to come in from stars or whatever you're pointed at through the correcting lens or the refracting lens at the front. It is then bounced and refracted to the primary, which you can see the light then passes all the way through the glass, hits the reflecting surface, and then is refracted through the glass again, and then makes its way up through the center of the front lens, through two more elements to get it flattened and corrected for the camera that sits up front. So it is a very fast little optical design. It is an f2, and we'll go into the specs actually right now, but that's how the HAC125 works. Now, specs on this thing, it's 125 millimeters, so 4.92 inches in diameter. That's its operating aperture. 250 millimeter focal length. It is an f2. It does have a small image circle by today's standards, but if you were at NEAF and you saw this thing, it's also very small. You can only use so many different cameras for this thing, which we will go in. I see there's a question about the 585 MC. I'm going to touch on this specifically when we get to the camera section of the scope, so just hold tight. It uses a primary helical design as well. Testing this, I haven't seen any image shift with the primary focus, so it's been a pretty solid performer. Now, a lot of people were surprised that we had this at NEAF this year and that we were bringing it in. I have to be very clear on this. This is not the same one that was introduced a year ago. There's the HAC125, which is right here. This is the original one. You could probably find this on Alibaba and stuff like that, where it's been selling. And then there's the DX version. Anything in the Skywatcher lineup that has that DX ending means it's upgraded from a previous model. There has been stuff done to it, usually mechanical, that improves the usability of the particular telescope enough to where it warrants a different designation. So DX in the Skywatcher realm means it's upgraded mechanically. So let's talk about the differences between the two. So while I was testing, I actually had both of them. I was actually auto guiding with, not that I had to, but you can see them there. They're tandem mounted. There's some 3D printed dew shield extras there because the prototype one I had, I needed to take flats and stuff like that. So it's a dew shield extender, a 3D printed. So let's talk about the difference between the two versions. These are the big differences between the two telescopes. If you happen to have one of the original ones, here's the difference between the two. First off is the focuser. The HAC125, the original one, uses a helical 1.25" focuser in the front of the telescope. The DX version, focusing is done on the rear primary, And this is really the big key that unlocks the telescope's capability to use a much wider range of cameras than the previous one. You no longer are just stuck in 1.25" mode. So we are going to get to, there's a question, can it fit a filter in the T2 1.25" adapter just in front of the camera? The answer is yes. I'll show you here in a minute. But yes, we'll talk about filters. What mount is that? That is the only white EQ8 RH in the world. I do a lot of testing here in the desert. I've got peers in the back, and a black EQ8 gets extremely hot out here in 120-degree weather. So this is a one-off white EQ8 RH mount. So I honestly would rather wish we made the EQ8R in white. After we got this one, it looks pretty sweet. But we've been pretty quiet about it, trying not to make a big deal about it because it's not something we plan to sell. I kind of prefer it. I think they look really sharp and white, to be perfectly honest. It's a bit dusty now, so... okay, so the focuser is a big upgrade on this particular telescope. Much easier to utilize. You don't have to get your hand down in there with this little helical focuser. You're stuck with just using the little 1.25" lipstick cameras. There's a wider range of cameras you can use on the new DX one because the primary is now the focusing portion, not up front. Second off, cameras. You were originally on the original version. You could only use 1.25" guide cameras. HAC125DX now allows 1.25" and T-thread cameras. It comes with a different set of adapters. There's 3 different adapters, which we'll talk about here soon. An 1.25", a female T-thread, and a male T-thread. So 3 adapters come with it, so you can use a variety of cameras. Dew shield. The original version had a thread-on dew shield. It made it a little difficult to actually work with because you had to get your hand there and focus it, and then working with the cable, and it was really kind of difficult to work with. The new version, the DX model, has a dovetail arrangement on the dew shield. So there's 3 screws you just back off, and the dew shield pops right off. Really easy to work with. A much improved design and makes it way easier to handle. So there's a dovetail design on the dew shield now. The new version, the DX, has a little cable port that's actually cut into the dew shield with this little rubber mask. So you can actually poke cables through the dew shield and route them through, so it leaves the dew shield front flat, so you can actually put a flat panel up there. It's a lot easier to take flats with the telescope now. So that's been a nice upgrade as well. It has a little cable management port. And then finally, there was no way to motorize the HAC125, the original version. There's no way you could motorize it. Now, currently, there is no motor option for the DX. However, we were informed just before NEAF that production HAC125DXs are going to have threaded holes on the back cell that will accommodate future focuser mounts. So I'm sure our friends at Star Arizona are going to create these. I'm sure you'll see other ones where there'll be different motor focuser mounts. And because there's a big knob on the back of the DX version, it allows you to actually use like a belt or some kind of adapter to clip a motor onto the back of there and motorize the focuser. So at the time of release, there's not any motor focus options for the 125DX, but the factory has thought ahead to give us at least a mounting spot for this to where probably in the coming months, it's not going to be a big deal, and there will be an easy way to motorize the focuser here shortly, but they gave us holes to at least start the mounting process. The DX also has 2 vents in the back of it to help vent out hot air or cold air, or help it equalize inside, because these telescopes are a sealed unit. It makes it hard to cool the air off inside. So now there are vents in the back to help level out the temperature. Let's see. I'm just curious why we're talking about the old one at all if it's not a real thing. Technically, it's a real thing. You could get a hold of them through certain channels, but it wasn't widely available. But I just wanted to compare the old version and the upgrades that have been made so you can understand better of why we didn't bring the old one in and why the new one exists. So, but yeah, the old one has not been an easy one to obtain for most, but you can track them down if you really want to. But the DX one will probably be much more readily available because it's just way easier to use for customers. Let's see. So what's in the box? I should have put the meme of Brad Pitt up here, but what's in the box? So when you get one of these, you're going to get the telescope optical tube. You're going to get the dew shield. Matching dew shield comes with it. It comes with 2 mounting rings and a Vixen-style dovetail bar. And it comes with 3 camera adapters, female T-thread, male T-thread, an 1.25" adapter. So there's a lot wider range of cameras that can be used. The telescope also features 2 finder mounting ports or saddles on the top. You can see one's right here, the other one's on the other side. Plenty of room to mount a small guider if you really wanted to. You could put a little guide system up there. You could put your ASI air or your whatever your control box is, but it's got some room to mount some of those small accessories up on the tube, so you're able to, handle things on the tube. Let's see. How about a dew heater? Just add a strip, right? Yep. Just figure out what size dew heater strip you're going to need, and it could wrap around the tube or the dew shield. Really no different than a refractor. How well is color dispersion corrected on the refractor portion of the scope? I haven't seen any color issues with this scope. I do have some test samples towards the end. You can see some of the images. It was with a one-shot color camera. I didn't find any color aberrations on the scope. So that's what comes in the box when you get yours, and then, of course, a front cap there. Some people said the original one also had issues with collimation. This one still has a push-pull collimation cell on the back. You can collimate the primary. They are hex wrenches versus the thumb knobs. And the ones I've had have been pretty solid. I actually found that putting the 1.25" adapter in and then just putting an 1.25" laser, like you'd collimate a Newtonian with, worked fine to collimate the ones I've had. Or you could throw it on a star and star test it and adjust there. So there's different ways you could collimate it. Would a filter drawer mess up the back focus? Yes, the back focus of these is 12.5 millimeters. There is no room for anything. So we do give you a little filter cavity, which I'll show you here shortly, on where you can put your little 1.25" filters. But there's no room to add anything else. Do you get any mirror flop with the primary helical focuser? I haven't seen any flop on the one. Again, it's a very small mirror. It's like 5 inches in diameter. So, and from the design, I need to get a better idea of how the design works, but there's no flop in there. It's very precise. Will you be selling the rear cell on its own to replace the original 125 mirror cell? No, they are not cross-compatible. The tube is a little bit longer on the DX model to accommodate the new focusing positions and hardware that's in there. So I don't see how you could easily switch these around. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't believe they will be an upgrade path if you have the original one. I'm sorry. All right, let's talk about cameras because that's what people want to know. So there's a wide range of cameras you could probably use for this. Here's just the ones I would recommend. Here's looking down the barrel of the two when I had them tandem mounted. In the picture, the right sample scope, the right side is the original scope. The left side is the DX scope. So the DX model has a 16 millimeter image circle. I believe the original does too. Oh, my camera turned off. Oops. Okay. Come on, camera. There it goes. Let's see. So let's talk about the ideal sensors on here. Remember, this telescope is 5 inches in aperture. There's not a lot of room to stick a big camera on the front of these things. There's a would it work with a Celestron 8300? Absolutely not. A, that sensor is too big, and B, the camera would obstruct way too much of the front of the telescope. So these telescopes are really tiny. If you saw it at NEAF, it's like 8.4 pounds is all of it weighs, and it's 15.7 inches long, and it's just over 6 inches in physical diameter, and then the operating aperture is just under 5 inches. So it's a little telescope, and it doesn't take much to obstruct that aperture. So your cameras are going to have to be small. The little 1.25" guide cameras, there's no obstruction on those. That would work great. It sits within the obstruction. However, I did test it with a ZWO 585 cooled. It's right here. And it works fine. It is a little bit bigger than the obstruction, so it does obstruct a little bit more, but you're still operating. I think if you do the math, you're operating somewhere about f2.5, even though your secondary is a lot bigger. It worked fine. No problem using the small ZWO cooled cameras, or the Starlight Express cameras are a nice option. So there are some options out there for cameras that you can use on this. I'm sure there's Player One cameras that would work, QHY, but you need something that's relatively small. But the smaller cooled cameras from ZWO work fine. And particularly the 585 cooled is probably my most recommended one because of those tiny little pixels. So that's what we're starting with. The IMX 585, that's going to give you a 2.55 by 1.44 degree field of view. So here it is compared to the Pleiades. You can see it actually does a pretty nice job at framing all of that up. So, you know, that's a pretty nice field of view for a telescope that weighs like 10 pounds when it's fully loaded and it's f2. So I kind of see this as Skywatcher's variation, I would say, of like something like a Red Cat. It's this funky little weird astrograph, and it's just an adorable little thing to mess with, but it's fast. I mean, f2 is crazy fast. This is a telescope that you could carry on with you if you're flying somewhere. You could pop this on like a Star Adventure GTI, or a small strain wave mount. Like our Wave 100 is more than enough mount to handle one of these telescopes. But you could build a very, very portable travel setup. If you're in one of these groups where you need to fly to these remote locations to do like light curves, to measure different stars, one of these or an array of these, you could do anything with that. So there's a lot of interesting applications that this telescope could be utilized for, from pretty pictures to a EAA portable live stack outreach setup. Again, you could put it on an Altaz mount. You could put it on a lightweight strain wave. You could put it on a little equatorial. Like there's a lot of options for something that's so small. Yeah, if someone's going to put it on an EQ AL55i, more than enough mount for this scope. So for the first camera, the camera that we actually tested with, you have the IMX 585. Again, 2.5 by 1.4 degree field of view. Frames the whole Pleiades up pretty easily there. One of the bigger cameras, probably the camera I might recommend to most, is a 533. Which frames very, very nicely at, oh, I didn't fix that. I knew there was one. So you're at 2.59 by 2.59 degree field of view. you can see how well that frames the Pleiades and some of these larger objects up. So a 533, because of that really nice 1-inch square sensor, that would pair up very, very nicely. Just excuse this typo up here. It's 2.59 by 2.59 for a 533. My apologies. So that would work. Now, some of the other sensors, Starlight Express still sells the ICX834, which is a CCD camera. I have a Starlight camera here. You can see the body is, very streamlined. They have their new blue cameras out now, but they do offer the ICX834 CCD. That is a 3.1 by 2.1 degree field of view. You can see it nicely frames that field of view there. So that would work just fine if you needed to shoot something a little bit wider. The field of view here, someone was asking, does the Starlight 694 work? Yes, the 694 would work as well. You can see your field of view is pretty much the same. The ICX834 is basically the high resolution version of the 694. So yeah, that would work. Solar with white light? No. It's f2. These are scopes that are not... If you really wanted to, I'm sure you could make it work for the sun. I don't know what you would need it for, but that's if you could get your camera to shoot slow enough. F2 on the sun is a lot. So I guess if you wanted to, but you'd need to make sure that the filter is properly fitted. But you could do better work with a refractor. So let's see. What's the diameter of the central obstruction? I don't know that off the top of my head, but all those specifications should be on our website under specifications. So skywatchusa.com. Look for the HAC one. Actually, I can just do that right now. So let's see. If you want to know the specs, just go to Explores Products down here. Specifications, and it should be down here. Maybe it's not in here. I'll have to find it. It might be in the manual, but I've seen it somewhere. It's around here somewhere. Oh, let's see. Here we go. Central obstruction is 53 millimeters, so 42.5% of the aperture. So it obstructs a bit, but when you hook a camera up to it and you're shooting at f2, it still flies off the handle. So if one wanted some focal length flexibility, can something like a Barlow be attached for the camera? I have no idea. I've never tried it. This was a big conversation when Rasa came out. Everyone was talking, like, can I add a Barlow? Can I do this? Can I do that? If you want to do something like that, I would say, and you wanted something like this size and you want flexibility, just go get a C6. It's f10. You can use it visually. You could use it for planetary imaging. You could get a Hyperstar for it and shoot at f2. If you want flexibility that's small and it's a reflector like this, get yourself a Celestron C6 and then get all the different things that can adapt to it. These high-speed astrographs are really designed for one thing and one thing only, and that's really fast deep sky imaging. So, and even if you were to put a Barlow on this, you'd be only talking about 500 millimeters, and that's assuming it even works. I have not tested it with a Barlow, so I didn't find the need to do so, but I understand why. So the 834 is a good option. You're 3.3 degrees by 2 degrees. That's a nice chunk of sky right there for a scope that's literally itty bitty. And then another, probably the best paired camera, which is an old sensor, is the IMX 183. This is a 3.02 degree by 2.02 degree on this scope, and the pixels are super small on that camera, so your resolution's a little bit better, but it's also giving you a really nice field of view. All of these are very small sensors, which is great for a telescope like this. This telescope is not made for these large sensors. So it's a really nice option for someone who might be getting started in imaging and they want to have a little astrograph, but they don't want the price to be thousands and thousands of dollars. This scope really does well with smaller chip cameras. The higher resolution, really tiny pixels as cameras are what you want to look for. But there's a lot that can be done with these scopes with very affordable cameras. So that's really nice to actually have. Now, people were asking earlier, you can put filters in this. There wasn't a good option with the original version to do that. So all 3 adapters that are included should be threaded for 1.25" filters. You can see how they work in there. There's a little threading inside these adapters, and you can pop your favorite 1.25" filter in there. Again, keep in mind this is an f2, so if you are using this and you're going to be doing like narrowband and stuff like that, you need to treat this very similarly to how you would a Hyperstar or a Rasa. If you want those high-speed filters, or if you want to do high-speed imaging with these and you want to use these narrowband filters, you're going to need the high-speed version of those filters, or you're going to get these funky shifts in your images because the filters are not working correctly. So you need your broader narrowbands, like 7 nanometers, or if you want those really restrictive, very tight bandpass filters, they need to be the high-speed ones that are shifted to handle this kind of speed. So I do feel like for the scope and what it is, it's been really flushed out to do everything that you can do in such a small, tiny package. So there's something nice about this telescope. It's still a little limited just physically because of its size. If you like the speed and you want to use bigger chips, then again, you're going to need like a Hyperstar 6 or maybe look at one of the Rasas, but they're going to be bigger and they're going to be more expensive. But it just depends on what your needs are. But if you're okay with using these smaller sensors and you want this ultra compact little astrograph or minigraph as we dub it, this is going to get pretty interesting. So they're kind of fun to mess with. It's very point and shoot. But yeah, so I'm actually kind of flew through this fairly quickly, but I wish I had the original one here, but there are some questions here. So let me dig into here. Did that. With the rebates that were done worldwide on the Esprit line a few months ago, I presume Skywatcher was to release a new premium line of refractors with NEAF. Well, there's a lot of stuff in the works at Skywatcher. NEAF this year, we had the Heliostars there. We showed the prototype Heliostar 100. If you guys haven't seen that, there's pictures floating around on it. The HAC125DX was there. There were also a couple new refractors we set up as Easter eggs at NEAF and NEAC. You might be able to spot them. Skywatcher has a lot of new stuff coming. Stuff that we can't even talk about yet. You can probably read between the lines if you're paying attention. But we've got a lot of exciting things in the works. There are things that I've tested. I don't know if we'll ever see the light of day, but there's some really interesting progress that our engineering team is putting into things. And even with the HAC125, you can kind of see that we're trying to break the mold on how things work and what new ways can we approach things that it's not just refractors. So keep an eye out. We will, if you want to know more, the webcast is the first place you're going to hear it. This is where you're going to get the most details, the fastest of the newest products for Skywatcher. We will unveil and talk about things here before you really get the info anywhere else. So you guys are smart. You can kind of read between the lines on what's going on. So let's see. So I have nothing I can really go into details yet, but stay tuned. So, several online store availability sales of this product are currently suspended due to ongoing tariff uncertainties. If tariff between the U.S. and China keep going on it, any backup solution. So, tariffs have been a monster conversation for the last week at NEAF. And I will be straight up honest with you guys. I have no idea what's going on. And not because I don't know. Obviously, everybody knows what's going on. I don't know where this is going to end up. It's been very, very chaotic for the entire telescope industry for the last week. And I will say with certainty, every single brand is affected in some way, shape, or form. I don't know where this is going to land. And it's a little concerning as someone who makes their living doing this. Our whole industry is affected. Our whole industry is concerned to some way, shape, or form. Hopefully something levels out sooner or later, but I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing shifts in prices. But I don't have any firm information. I don't make those decisions. It's above my pay grade. There are conversations going on, but right now with everything that's happening, it's just too all over the place for anybody to make a good business decision. Do you sell everything where it is now and then a week later it's 120 whatever % higher? Or do you hold off? I don't know. It's a mess, and it's a big mess. So we don't want to send anybody through the ringer if we don't have to. But shifting prices up and down and up and down and up and down as things, go through a roller coaster isn't fair to anybody. So I have no idea where things are going to end up right now. I'm hoping something will level out sooner rather than later, but you guys kind of know as much as I do at this point, and it's unfortunate that a lot of things are wrapped up in it because a lot of people were announcing new stuff at NEAF, and I couldn't give you really any availability on these things. As far as these right now, if things are settled, HAC125DX should make it to the US in the next 2 months, was the last time we saw the landing times. So early summer, you'd probably get a hold of one of these. At this point, I will be straight up. I have no freaking idea. I have no idea at this point. We have them on order, but with everything going on right now, I don't know what it's going to be. And it was really unfortunate to go to the show something we've been working on for months, have everything ironed out, and then through the course of 48 hours, watch all the work, all the effort, everything we've done to try and get stuff ready dissolve right in front of your eyes by the minute. Just watching this thing go back and forth and shake up the entire world that you've been building. So I don't know. Hopefully things level out. That's all I can really go into at this point because I'm right there with you guys. So without going into politics, which we're not even playing that game right now. So, and I will let you know right now, if you start bringing up politics in this chat, you're gone. We're not. This is a place for us to be buddies and be friends and talk about something that's not chaotic and just enjoy space. We're not doing that here. So the whole internet, you can go play Minesweeper and go blow everything up with your opinions elsewhere. Do not bring it up in this room. So let's just be buddies. So let's see. So I don't know on these just yet. I don't know. Things need to cool down and level out, and then we'll know. So giving a bit of a curve to camera cable. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Someone asked about camera cable management. It's very, very similar to anything else, Hyperstar, Rasa, we have a little hole that's cut into the side of the dew shield on these, where you can actually run cables up inside and out of the side of the dew shield. So cable management will route through there. You could run it out the front of the dew shield. Make sure you do it like 90 degrees. But yeah, your cable management is going to be very similar to anything that's Hyperstar Rasa-esque at that point. So, let's see. So that's how you would do cable management there. I'm sure someone will make a little rounded cable management system. It'd be adorable because it'd be really tiny, but there are a way to do it. Will there be versions of the HAC125DX with longer focal lengths? As far as I know right now, I have talked to the engineering team. There is no plans to make any other size or anything from this design as it currently sits. That's what I know. The 125 is a unique little individual, and that's it. There are no other plans to do it. However, I do know of a couple other scopes that are in the works that have some very exotic designs. You can see where there's some inspiration that might have come from HAC, but I don't know if they're ever going to get to reality. There's one in particular I'm super excited about that I've been testing that I think would just shatter the mold of anything that we've ever done, and some that you've never seen before. But last I checked, that scope has been moved to the back burner as we move through some other stuff right now. So I don't know, but you can see some inspiration coming from this. Tariffs aside, when are they shipping out? Hopefully sometime in June. Hopefully. That's for North America. I don't know about Australia and the other regions and stuff like that. We don't have say in other divisions of the world. So you'll just need to speak to your local Skywatcher distributor for that. So let's see. I think this is more of a ZWO QHY Tube Tech line question, but I didn't see a mounting location for an electronic focuser. Will one be provided? On the back cell of the HAC125DX, I really wanted the scope to be here. The one I have and the ones I've tested don't have this, but the production ones, as I have been told by my engineering team, I have yet to see one. There are a set of threaded holes on the rear cell. These will be holes that will allow third party or us to develop motor focuser mounts for the 125DX. So right now there is no option to motorize the focuser, but the factory has stepped up to make a mounting position so they can be developed. So when these first start shipping, the answer will probably be no. There is no motor focuser option. I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the year if that is changed, especially with friends like Star Arizona who are always coming up with crazy stuff. I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the year, once these start getting out into the wild, that motor focuser brackets will be made quite quickly. But at least the engineering team has stated that there will be a focuser mounting holes so you can build something. Suggestion: bring Star Travel 150 to the U.S. market with a better focuser. Richfield telescopes are greatly underappreciated. I totally agree. I have a Star Travel 150 right now. The problem is, and I've even upgraded the focuser with a new focuser we've been working on. It works great. People don't buy them. That's all I can say. People don't buy short tube achromatic refractors. There is a small window that does, and they're great telescopes. The Star Travel 102, the 120, the 150 is a powerhouse in a night in the dark skies. But everybody wants to take pictures. That's where the market is. And as a company, especially right now where there's a lot of uncertainty, you have to be incredibly strategic on what you bring in, because if you bring in something and only a handful sell, you've basically got a product that's dead on arrival. Skywatcher is a mass production company, as well as Lestron and Explore Scientific and many, many others. you have to be very careful on what you bring in. Everything has to make sense in the market. And there's a lot of research that goes into some of this stuff before it comes to reality. So I love the Star Travels. There are many of you who have asked for the 150 to come in. The 150, if we were to bring it in right now, especially before the tariff conversation is applied, you're looking over $1,000 for that telescope tube. That's a 6-inch f5 achromatic refractor. That's before the upgrades are done. Does the market want it? Some of you will. Some of you get it. Some of you would want it. But that doesn't mean I can go to bat to management and say, hey, we should bring this in, because then I'm going to have to give them forecasts. And if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't sell, it dies on the vine. That's the end of it. So it's got to be careful about it. It's a bit odd because doublets are pretty dang decent for narrowband imaging. Yeah, they're actually one of the reasons that the Star Travel 150, and one that I really hope to do an episode on, probably later this year, is I want to show how you can do narrowband imaging with an achromat. You don't need an APO to do narrowband imaging because you're isolating wavelengths. So there could be something hiding in there, that maybe there's this really cool option available to bring achromats in, but you got to know what you're doing with them. And you guys are really smart. But sometimes there are trends that don't make a lot of sense. Like, you don't need a triplet to have a visual APO refractor. It blows my mind that are not more doublet ED refractors on the market. They're well corrected, they're lightweight, they're great for visual. You don't need a big triplet. But marketing has told us that we need to sell the high-end optical designs because this is the best. The best for what? Triplets are fantastic for astrophotography, and they're excellent for visual, but you don't need it. So that's just an example. Let's see, because we're running out of time. So, diffraction spikes from cabling are similar to RASA. Do you have any images from the test? Yes, I do. So, here's some test sample shots. This was done with an HAC125DX. These are ASI Air live stack images. I just told the ASI Air to live stack. I think they're like 10-second exposures, and they're using a 585 MC cooled. This is the exact camera that shot it. So there's the double cluster. This is just from my backyard with I think like a basic light pollution filter. I think they look pretty good. So there's the double cluster, because a double cluster is a very good target to test optics on, because it's all stars and it is really difficult the double cluster will tell how bad your scope is, because when you have a rich star field, it will tear up a telescope. So there's the double cluster. Here's Comet C 2023 from this fall. Again, all live stacked images. Here's M33. Again, this is taken in my backyard. There's no processing on this. Just live stack images, so there's some bad gradients and no noise stuff was applied. Once I get the new one back, which is on its way back from NEAF, I'm going to start shooting more pretty pictures, if you will, of targets. So there's M33 with the 585. There's no crop on this either. This is the native field. And then there's M27. So you can see there's a lot of potential with this little guy. But again, remember, it's a little telescope. It uses little filters. It uses little cameras. You don't slap a 2600 on this thing. You don't slap a 6200. Tiny cameras. Itty bitty cameras. Maybe the cooled cameras. The Starlight cameras are excellent for these things. Oh, I forgot. There's the adapter. So this is one of them. This is the male T-thread adapter. So there it is. There's with the H alpha filter in there. and it just threads right in there. And also these adapters, if you can see really close, they use a dovetail design. So when it tightens down, it centers it and keeps it locked in. Now, if you're using a ZWO cooled camera, because some of you are going to get this scope and you're going to want to know, how do you use it? You need to use the female T-thread. So a ZWO camera, they have these little black rings. Oh, man. Hold on. Sorry, this is actually important. Let me get my camera back up here. Okay, so ZWO cooled cameras have these. Here, let's go bigger than that. Here we go. ZWO cooled cameras, the little ones. You're not using the big 2600 and these other ones. The little guys like this, the 533, the 585. If you could find a 174 or 183, those would work really good as well. When you get it, you're going to get one of our adapters in the telescope box. It is a female T-thread. This guy, the black ring, threads off the camera. This thing goes away. Put this in your box. You will leave these front threads right here that are part of the camera exposed. Our adapter threads onto that and gives you the nose piece that also has room for 1.25 inches. That attaches there on the camera, and then that mounts onto the front of the HAC. So there are 3 adapters that you get with this. You get the male T-thread, which is right here, male T-thread, female T-thread, and 1.25 inch adapter. All should have the filter threads inside of them. So that's how you do it. But if you have a ZWO cooled, you're going to take the black ring off the front and then thread the female ring onto that. So that's how the ZWO ones work. Starlight Express, you would take their cameras, T-thread that onto there, and you should be good to go. Just like that. So that's how that all works. A couple questions in here. Is Skywatcher going to make Schmidt's? I don't see any reason for us to make Schmidt Cassegrains because our sister company Celestron already does it. So they do it really well. You should get a major camera manufacturer to make a camera with a housing diameter of 53 to 55 and match the obstruction size. It exists. It was at NEAF. There's a prototype one floating around, actually. So there are custom cameras that might be coming down the pipe for these, made by a major manufacturer of cameras that are designed specifically for the HAC. The first one's a 585. The 533 is also in discussion. When those actually come out, no idea. It's already going. Was a 2-inch filter in that adapter? I couldn't tell. No, only 1.25 inch filters. There's no way to use 2-inch on these. It really wouldn't work with the form factor. So unfortunately, you will need 1.25 inch filters for this. Plus, all the chips that you can use on this are tiny. Are the Heliostar scopes compatible with any eyepiece brand such as Teleview? Yes, Heliostars currently use 1.25 inch eyepieces. I'm hoping we make a 2-inch adapter, but 1.25 inch is all you need. You can use any 1.25 inch eyepiece that you want. I personally recommend the Teleview Plossels for solar. They, in my opinion, having used a range of eyepieces, the Teleview Plossels are the best eyepiece for hydrogen alpha solar. They've just got really good contrast, and their baffling is very good. It's just a great eyepiece. The 25, the 20, somewhere in that focal length will be great for a Heliostar. And you don't need any special solar eyepieces. So anyway, that's it for the HAC125DX. We'll see if we can do another episode on it. If you're going to be at shows in the future, again, we're hoping to return to Starfest this year. We'll probably be bringing a couple of these guys, hopefully. As far as tariffs go, we're all in this roller coaster together. Hopefully things settle down and we can get back to some kind of normal, but there's some turbulence happening right now. So just hang in there. And I would like to say on behalf of the whole industry, no one wants this. No one wants price hikes. No one wants to be in this position. So if you're upset about everything that's going on, we are too. We don't want to be in here. So we're doing our best, but we're also doing our best to maintain our company's stability. So just hang in there, and please remember, we're people too. We're feeling all of this, and our jobs are affected on this. So please just be patient for the next few weeks, and hopefully things will level out. Final quick question. Any way to rotate the camera apart from rotating the scope? Yes. It is a dovetail. Wrong one. It is a dovetail system. There's a little mounting screw. They might have changed the design by the time I see it, but you can, before you put the dew shield on, you can orient the camera any way you want without rotating the scope and the rings. So yes. All right, everybody, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. That was the HAC125 introduction video. When we get some of these, maybe we can do more and talk a little bit more about that. If you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe. Leave a like on the video. If you've got ideas, email us at info@skywatchusa.com. Title it What's Up. Please like and subscribe. If you want to support us more, head over to Skywatcher USA. Pick up some fun stuff off of our website or your favorite dealer. Go to skywatcher.threadless.com. If you want to know more about HAC, the manual is on our website. Head over there, check it out. And then next week, we're going to be going over NEAF and NEAC. There was some cool stuff there. Some stuff I was surprised to see. Some really high-end stuff that I was drooling over. And also a couple little things that I got to take home. And I'm excited to show you guys about that. So we'll see you guys next Friday. Have a great weekend. Turn the frickin' news off and take your telescope outside and enjoy the hobby. So have fun. Take care. See you next Friday. And we will catch you guys all next week. Clear skies. See ya.